I'm Milk, Chosen Few, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Milk.
Y'all can wear wash. So at the time, I was thinking like, wash. And I'm knowing more than I knew then, but I'm still like gathering, like, I know what these rockers mean. And when you read it, that's a territorial area you're in. What the fuck is wash? But at that time, a lot of the black clubs was wearing wash. It was a short version of Washington. And they rock with it. So when he told me that, I was like, to me, that sounds like the white boys being like, here, y'all can put on wash, but you can't put on Washington. So I was like, we're not putting that shit on. No, don't put wash on. Sounds like with people that read it, even if you don't know what club it is, it looks like you wash the bikes. Is that what that means? You wash bikes? What the fuck is wash? We're not putting that on. Richie Rich and them come back and he was like, yeah, they say we can't put Tacoma on, but we can put SeaTac on. SeaTac? Well, that's short for Seattle and Tacoma. So they don't want you to put Tacoma on, but they're going to give you two cities. SeaTac is the abbreviation for the airport, so everybody knows what SeaTac is. It didn't make sense to me, but if they're going to give it to you, fuck it, put SeaTac on. And that's how Washington, that's how Dauru put SeaTac on up in Washington, and that's where that came from. Well, then, so we get Rook. So Rook's telling me, but now he got a relationship with, he calls him the wise man. He's a bandito up there. So he puts me on the phone with him. I tell him, and I want to say I had the conversation with him when I was Dauru about that rocker. And I think the conversation, it definitely was different that time versus this conversation with him. But he was like, I said, it's Chosen Few. And he said, oh, I know who. Or he said, is this the real Chosen Few? And I was like, yeah, Los Angeles, like the Chosen Few. He was like, okay, badass. That was his word. He kept saying everything was badass. He was like, yeah, I grew up in Inglewood. I want to say he said Inglewood. He grew up in LA. He was like, and I remember I used to see Chosen Few and the Mongols in the park. And man, I used to look up to everything. He said, but I had to leave California because I knew that I was going to end up in the grave or in a cage. And I had to get out. And Washington's where I set my feet. And he's been up there ever since. But everything was badass. And then he said, so y'all come up here. He said, are you asking me or are you telling me? And I said, I remember, because he remembered me from Dauru. And he was like, so are you asking me or are you telling me? I said, well, I remember our last conversation, how it went. I said, I'm not telling you anything, but I'm not asking. I'm kind of letting you know we're up in the area and I'm standing guys up. So I just want to be cordial about how this is going to go. And he was like, okay. And then him and Rook just ended up hitting it off, and then they had a great relationship. And that solidified a lot of the stuff that was going on at Washington at the time, so that if there was any problems with politics or whatever, Rook dealt with him, and it kind of put our foothold up there. You still had Wheels and Disciples up there, but I mean, I didn't really know the inner workings of that, but it didn't really interfere. That we didn't have an issue with them or in any conversation with them when we stood up. The Banditos really who we spoke with. I stand Washington up, King County. A little while later, I get Virginia. So I get a call. I forgot who called me, but they said, hey, we got a guy that used to be a deuce. They trying to come over. He's in Virginia, 7 cities. J-Dub. So I get on the phone with him, and Bishop is the national at the time. So now you got to back up, because now Bishop is the national at the time. And at that time, again, I had been doing things. So a lot of people was like, you might be the man for the job. A lot of the OGs, Doc, Hero, a lot of the cats was like, you might be ready to stand up and be the national. You know, you should run. So there was things that they had did to turn to the timeline for me to be able to run for national. At the time, he Boo, somewhere in that tenor, he changed the name. He's Bishop. Bishop is who he is now. But he had came to me and said, you're still new to this club and you don't really know Chosen Few like I know Chosen Few. I can beat Big J. Let me run, learn the club, do some more, and your time will come, and you'll be able to, but let me make this run right now, and we'll take this to another level. And we ran with it, and said he's been a national ever since. Bishop and I get on the phone with J Dub, and again, we're still making everybody come. So Virginia rides in to I want to say they rode in at first, but maybe they flew in, but he got his cousin with him, Fish. I love Fish, but he's an arrogant, he's confident, cocky, arrogant, and he's still on the floor. And I remember people was asking like, "What do you ride?" and all this, and he's like, "Yeah, I ride this, and I'll ride any niggas." And he just like, "Hold on, nigga, like you talking pretty bold, like you know where you're at, and you flew a whole lot of miles. There's a whole lot of people standing around you, but." It was all it was some of it was in fun, but it was kind of like it could be taken like, bro, like you might get beat up in here. But he was very uh confident. It's probably where I just stick with confident, cocky. But Fish is definitely a talker, and he's from the South, so he got that. Listen closely, because you'll miss a word, or you really have to. Like, what'd you say? But Dub and them stood on the floor. Hawaii actually was standing up too at the time, but they didn't have all their guys come over at the time. So then we stood Virginia up, and then Jacksonville came. Then over time, the process changed, and we started to grow a lot more in those areas. Um,
So you guys are popping up all over the country. Boom, boom,
yeah,
boom.
yeah, and more so now. I'm gonna say over the last 8 years. So I'm coming up on 17 years in this club. So I'm gonna say the last eight, yeah, like weeds on a sidewalk. They just sprouting.
You think it's
Um,
good? Do you think it's good to get big like that?
yes
Or
and
do
no. When I first came in, I was like, man, the beauty of it is being able to call a brother and have somebody in like Bill. You call me and say, hey, hey, Milk the Stacks. I'm stuck at the airport in Chicago. This is my flight. Boom. And I can't get no flight. Hey, okay, don't trip. I'm gonna call my brother 4x4, and he gonna make sure you're good, and he got you until you. I mean, I've had that happen in Atlanta. My aunt was stuck, and I called my guy Wood. He went and got her from the airport. She couldn't get a flight out for 2 days. This man put my aunt up in his house for 2 days. Went to work, fed her, made sure she was good. So the beauty of having it is being able to call a brother somewhere else and have that action that if you need them, they're there for you. Um, we've had plenty of brothers from the East call the West and be like, "Hey, my daughter's out there by herself. Can you keep an eye on her, or she's traveling back? Can you make sure she's safe, or can you check on her on the way? I'm gonna have her stop through, check, make sure she's good on the way." Those are the kind of the beauty of having chapters all over that you're able to have them their camaraderie and build those bonds in areas to say you can call someone in any state and be able like,
and you could
hey,
ride there and stop at
oh
this
yeah.
clubhouse, right?
And that, man, I've done it numerous times, and to be able to, hey, I don't want to pay for a room, sleep at the clubhouse, sleep on the pool table, or if there's a couch open, I've slept on a few pool tables. But again, like I said, the beauty of being able to pop up at somebody's clubhouse and they opened up and show love. That's the beauty of it. The headache of it is like I used to say we're a West Coast club. We're a nationwide club, but back in the day, the roots were we started on the West. This is the West, but being a national club, coming with headaches. We bumped heads with a few clubs, but when you stand up in areas like I just say Philly, that's Wheels area. They were the first there. That's their hub.
Yeah, but is it
Um,
only African American clubs that you maybe bump heads with? Is it any white
Oh
clubs?
no. Oh yeah. No, no, no. Again, it depends on the area you're at. The only reason I said Philly is because
I mean,
Philly was
Philly
wheel,
has a lot of pagans there too.
but we didn't have no issue with pagans. We had issues with the wheels. But even in Detroit. Like we didn't have issues with Outcasts out there, but knowing where their hubs was, like, see, we had issues with Outcasts in Atlanta, but that was one of their strongholds. That wasn't their mother, but that was one of their strongest chapters. So
What
they were
about Sin
very
City and Detroit? No problems there.
no, because we didn't stand up. We hadn't had Detroit. I think we're just now got Detroit, but in the Midwest, we did have issues with Sin City. And again, it's not really any right way because again, telling somebody they can't stand up somewhere, you bring the police really with everybody. So when you get to doing things to each other, claiming the area, you open doors for with this politics that is some that you may end up regretting when you got
You
to
give the
start.
cops something right on a silver platter, right?
Yeah, yeah. Some people ain't built for this life, and when they get involved with it and the shit hits the fan, they'll be quick to tell, or they went that way, or he did it.
Does everybody in your club have a diamond? Do they all wear diamonds?
Yeah. Coming after, I mean, after they prospected, the process is different now than it was when I came in. But again, you ain't gotta go to nobody, or you know, some of these people will have you believing that you gotta go commit criminal acts to earn your diamond.
Do you
I don't
think
know what I
everyone
can't.
should wear? Do you think everyone should wear diamonds?